One show at a time.
Hey, everybody. I got Rob Torres here from BLAM Detailing. How's it going, Rob?
It's going great, man.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, tell us a little bit more about yourself. You were on the podcast a couple years ago. Tell us again how you got started, a brief story, and what this wonderful year was like for you.
Oh my God, man. This year has just been crazy in the best possible way. But, let's bring us back to square one. I was in the design business. I owned a web design studio. This is going back about 9 years, and I was no longer in love with the business. And I was trying to figure out what it was that I was going to do next because I was getting ready to sell it. I happened to be in Florida over the winter, bought myself an old beat up Mustang convertible. And while I was working on it, trying to make it look great again, I had this epiphany, which was like, you know what, man? I've always had a car habit. I'm super into cars. I've got cars in my blood through my father. I'm going to start a detail business. And BLAM was literally born like in a moment of clarity in Cape Coral, Florida, with a Mustang that I bought for $800.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why BLAM? Why the name BLAM?
So what I wanted to do was, and I also have a little bit of a marketing background. I wanted to stand out from other detailers in a really significant way. So a lot of the detail shops that you see, they're like, top shelf detailing or like high definition detailing, like you're lost in the crowd. That isn't memorable. I wanted to come up with something that literally was going to burn into your mind the way that, like, if you look up at the sun and you keep seeing those lights, and if you remember my first logo, it was a caricature of myself with my glasses and my backwards baseball cap and the big words BLAM. So if nothing else, if you threw my business card on the table with 50 other detailer business cards, you're going to remember that you saw BLAM. And then on top of it, my oldest child at the time came up with not an anagram, acronym, excuse me.
Okay.
So, and BLAM stands for Better Looking Automobiles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of a cool thing,
Great. And then I had told you the story that I was sitting at breakfast a couple years ago, and
Yeah.
I look at this car and it had a BLAM air freshener in the mirror, and I was like, wait, that's in Boston area. It's New England, and we're in Tacoma, 5,000 miles away, 3,000 miles away. And I'm like, well, who is it? And I text you, and they're like, oh, the people are behind me. I'm like, oh. So I had talked to them. Anyways, that was the world's small. It really is. Okay, great. Tell us a little bit about this awesome year you've had.
So 2025 was a really important year for me for a bunch of different reasons professionally. 2024, there was a lot going on, and there was no room for me to promote any kind of growth in any type of direction. It was simply maintaining business as usual, which is not a terrible thing. But I get complacent, and I like to keep leveling up. And as you know, we've been friends and doing business for many years now. I'm always looking for something new, and I'm always looking for ways to kind of turn up the heat a little bit. This year, one of the first things that I wanted to make sure that I did was something that you and I had talked about, I think the past 3 years, I sort of was like flirting with the idea of it, which is my own private label product line, with Pearl Nano.
Right. BLAM. There we go.
There we go. We got the BLAM signature graphene detail spray, which honestly, I have been using this product day in, day out, literally since the very first starter pack sample kit that you sent me way back when. So it's one of those things where it's integrated into my workflow, and it made perfect sense for that to be the product that I finally, put my label on. And the response has been amazing. People love it. The financial piece of it, I haven't quite pushed the envelope on that yet. What I've really focused on with it is looking at it as an extension of my brand.
It's what it is.
And it's just another one of those things where in the circles that I do business, where most of my clientele are, this is a logical next step to them. Like, this didn't surprise them that Rob Torres has his own product. And that was exactly what I wanted to happen.
And they trust you with their beautiful cars.
100%.
They wait for you. You're booked out how long at all times?
6 to 8 weeks minimum.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So the next step is the product. Oh, and there's Christmas coming, and give me some of that product. And how do I maintain my car in the wintertime in the garage? I need some of that. I'm sure that you're hearing this
all the time. For me, just as a sort of cool feather in my cap, if I never sold a single bottle of it, I still would have been happy, because I honestly just like looking at it, because I worked really hard to establish BLAM, and it's just sort of like proof positive, like, hey man, you had a great idea, you went for it, and here you sit, and it just gets better and better.
Right. So then we have one more awesome nugget here. I've been on your case a little bit for the last couple years. Rob, you got to get into this ceramic stuff. I know you're mobile, but come on. And what happened?
I finally bit, man. I finally bit, and the response was almost overwhelming, because a lot of my clientele, and I've said this to you before, Dave, I am in circles in very affluent neighborhoods out in a part of Massachusetts called Cape Ann. It's a seaside community, very high net worth individuals that love their cars. They've got private car collections, and their daily drivers are nicer than what most people will ever own in their lifetime. So everybody was waiting for me to sort of like bless ceramic coating. So when I finally did, I had the opportunity to work on some really nice stuff. Some of it I posted, some of it out of respect to anonymity. Some of these people don't want their stuff out there, is just happening behind the scenes. But I promise you, they all came out amazing. And if you are listening and watching this and you haven't integrated ceramic coating into your offerings, don't do what I did. Get in there now, make it happen, because it is an unbelievable experience to drop off a car at your client's that you just spent the day making look absolutely amazing, and watching their jaw hit the floor when it rolls up. Because as I had said when we were speaking before I started, without being really familiar with ceramic, until you actually are working on it and applying it and seeing it transform in front of you, you can't quite grasp how significant an improvement it is, optically, shine, depth of color. There's no way around it. And I tell people all the time, once you have had a vehicle coated, you will almost guaranteed never not have a vehicle coated every time you buy a car. That'll be a part of it for you.
Yes, but let's back up a little bit. So it took a little bit of work to get you to this level. Once you did a car, which was your own car.
Yes.
Then what?
So one of the things that I stand on in my business is making sure that I don't offer anything, and I don't touch a client's car with anything that I haven't personally used on my own vehicle. So it was really important for me to go through the coating process on my personal car, which at the time was a 2014 BMW 228i drop top. It was a black car. It had been car washed to death. And, when I dialed it back, it was just astonishing what the results were. Once I was able to now have literally a case study to show people, then that's when I was able to start booking things, because then it was like, okay, Mr. Client, you've been asking me about ceramic coating, and I've been sort of doing some research and dragging my feet a little bit. That is no longer the case. Let me swing by and show you what 10-year-old black paint looks after I spent the afternoon on it and then sealed it up with ceramic. And that was it.
That was it.
That was the end of it.
Tell us about the nor'easter.
So, okay, yeah. One of the sort of pivotal moments for me, I was already bought in. After I had initially done the application and saw the results, I was like, yeah, this is a beautiful thing. In that coming winter, I live in New England, and we obviously, as I had said, we get absolutely hammered. There's salt on the roads. It's an absolute mess. And the very first time that I rinsed off that BMW that I had coated, that was literally covered in all the salt residue. You know, it looked like something you'd have to spend at least 3-4 hours on just to get it back to looking even reasonable. Man, I brought it through a pressure wash bay, zip, 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 blotted it down dry, and it was like, looked like I had just spent the whole day on it. And at that point, I really started putting a little bit of effort behind pushing it out to my clients.
Great,
Great stuff. Great stuff, man.
Okay, all right. So you're a media guy and you wanted to boost your brand new Instagram page. What did you do to do that?
So when it came time for me to put Instagram up and running, I was a little reticent because, as you had mentioned, and guys, this is really just the reality of my business. I'm booked from 6 to 8 weeks out all season. I turn a ton of business down because I simply don't have the bandwidth for it. So my reasoning or my motives behind launching an Instagram account was literally to support the launch of my detail spray. It had nothing to do with wanting to like gain audience share to get new appointments, because Instagram is more of a global thing, whereas my Facebook presence is really targeted and local. So I hired a great gal, a media savvy gal to follow me around with a camera, and we did some videos and some before and afters and some product, demonstrations and so on. And I had a really good time with it. And I very quickly got a bunch of followers. I very quickly was getting a lot of views, and I was selling some products. So it did what it was supposed to do, for sure.
Excellent. So, wow, we're 12 minutes in and we've already covered a lot of ground here. So how about some tips or tricks for some of the guys out there, the young guys, the guys that have been here a while? What can you share on how to be more successful and basically how to make more money?
All right. And I love talking about this because if you know me, you will know that I take a lot of pride in what I do. I'm a really good auto detailer. I know my way around cars. My stuff, my work stands on its own, no question. But I am not the best detailer walking around the planet Earth. There are tons of detailers out there that are as good, if not better than me, that simply don't know how to keep their schedule filled. And that is where my approach to things, I think, is really going to be helpful to people. Because if you were to go on, like, we'll talk about Instagram just because it's an easy thing for us to talk about. More often than not, on an Instagram, detailer group page or Facebook detailer group page, you've got all these young guys coming in and they're asking questions like, hey, what's the best compound to use? What's the best compound, pad type to use? What is the best DA I should buy? What is this, and this? It's all paying attention to things that you're better off figuring out as you do 100, 200, 300, 1,000 appointments. You can read about that stuff all day, but a lot of that, in my opinion, comes down to personal preference. Like if you were to look at my tool bag, I might have, I don't know, there's probably like 15 or 20 products in there. And those are all curated because of what I've done over the course of my career as a detailer. None of that is what would have been recommended to me, when I was just coming out of the gate. Anyway, where I'm going with this is stop paying attention to that stuff. Start paying attention to the market that you want to do business in, what your clientele in a perfect scenario is going to look like, and what are you going to offer them. And once you start looking at that, what you want to do, and this is literally like a page right out of my playbook, how I got BLAM off the ground, you find a town, and in that town, make sure there's a large demographic that matches up with what you want to do. Because another thing that I think people struggle with, Dave, is when they're first coming out, they just want to take every dollar that's handed to them. That's a horrible strategy. And I understand that, we all have bills, we all get nervous, have some faith in yourself. Take a deep breath, take a step back, and be smart about it. So one of the things that I did, and this is something that anybody can do, when I determined what the main town was that I wanted to target, and that town, in my case, happens to be Manchester by the Sea, I started to, number one, I rented an apartment there, but that was sort of like separate because it's just a really nice seaside town, and it was a cool place for my wife and I to go to hang out on weekends and that sort of thing. But one of the things that I did was I started making myself available in town to the local businesses. So there was a particular place, a wonderful pizza shop owned by some really nice people. And honestly, Dave, I think for probably, it might have been 6 months straight, I went there every day and got what they had was a pizza special. It was 2 slices of pizza and a soda. I think it was like $7 or whatever. Amazing pizza. I would have ate it if it was $20. But my point is, it wasn't about going to get pizza. It was about being there and being seen there and starting to become someone that people recognized, because people like to do business with people that they're familiar with. It becomes a much easier interaction with somebody that recognizes you, and it becomes an organic conversation like, hey, what do you do? You know what? I happen to own a detail business. I'm starting to, kind of pick up a lot of clients in town, and you guys, seem to really enjoy the service that I offer. And if I can ever do anything for you, feel free to reach out anytime. And once you start doing that, once people start recognizing you, you're going to find that your phone's going to ring, or you're going to get text messages, because another part of that is ultimately you're going to find out one of two things when you start targeting a particular area. The one thing you're going to find out is there a detailer in town that absolutely owns that town? And if they do, that's great, because now you know what you're up against. Number two, you're going to find out that that person doesn't exist. And here's a news flash. If you do a couple of the things that I suggest, give me a year and that person will be you. You will be that go-to detailer, because people love the service that I offer. And one of the things that keeps me busy all the time is every interaction that I have with a client is based on, it just so happens that I detail cars, Dave. It's my client experience model that really keeps me connected to people. And it makes everything go so smooth, and it is so easy. And I remove every possible barrier before it is even an issue with a client that would stop them from booking an appointment with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so you touched on a lot of things. So I have heard of people in Malibu and La Jolla and other places. They go to restaurants all the time just so they can be seen. So this is a great
Yeah.
tactic right here. People want to do business with they know, like, and trust. If you're new, I don't trust you. You're that weird looking guy.
Right.
So now that I've seen you, and the same thing, I lived in Hawaii for a long time. They're very standoffish, but once they seen you at the beach, they seen you out in the lineup, they see you, oh man, I seen you before, it's what's going on. And I used to serve the roughest beaches, and people are like, you went there? I'm like, yeah, you show respect, you get respect,
Yes,
so
sir.
the same thing. So you touched on some other things that I've been talking about for decades, probably, about, finding your ideal customer. So
Yes. So
if
important.
you figured it out that, do poor people get their car detailed? Not a lot. So maybe that's not a target market. Rich people do. And isn't it really nice to work on super nice cars? Doesn't this stuff go on like butter? And you get to rub on a $500,000 car, $100,000 car. What a job. You get to actually get paid to do this. A lot of people would do it for fun. So you figured out your ideal customer, you figured out a persona. That's the other thing that I talk about is you have
Right.
this middle-aged Corvette Porsche driver persona who lives in this seaside town half the year, probably, and
Exactly.
you show up half the year and you are sitting at this pizza joint, talking to people. Hey, how's it going, Fred? I saw you yesterday. And, yeah, I need to get my car. Okay, I'll get on your schedule. Oh, I'm booked out, man. You gotta get in early. So, but you can do that you don't have to go to a seaside town. You could go to any
Right.
town in
You don't.
America, in the world, and say, I'm going to go to the golf course. I'm going to go and I'm going to find that persona guy, the guy with the plaid pants, the golf clubs, the nice Corvette. And I'm going to focus all my energy onto them. And then just to transition a little bit farther, I talk about what's called the Dream 100, the top 100 people in your little town that you would love to do their cars, and you try to get their phone number, their email, something. You run into them at the grocery store. Hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you. You have no idea how to get a hold of them. So have you ever tried to write down your persona, talk about the Dream 100, and it looks like you have, and all this is working out great, right?
It really has. And I actually want to like go back to something that you just said that I think is really important. It doesn't have to be a seaside town. However, you want to try to narrow down whatever the town is. So like we'll use like even a golf course, for example. One of the other things that I started doing this year that I didn't mention is I'm actually doing consulting for new detailers that are trying to get themselves off the ground. And part of the beauty of the way that my business is set up, and honestly, I'm literally wrapping up the last few appointments of the New England season, and I'm getting in my car and I'm driving down south for the winter, and I'll work down south all winter. Part of what happens on my way down south is there is a new detailer in South Carolina that I am working with, trying to get him established. And one of the first things that we did was zero in on who is he doing business with. And it just so happens that it is based on a really popular golf course where he's got some people that he knows, and he just got his foot in that door. And I'm not going to say he's booked already, because he's not, but I mean, he is way ahead of where most people are this early in the game. And I'm really looking forward to going down, and I'm going to stop in South Carolina, and we're going to do some training, and I'm going to teach him a couple things that he doesn't know.
And people talk too, right? Oh, once you do Fred's car, like, wait, who did your car? Oh,
exactly.
And now your car looks better than my car, and I got to call Rob. This can't happen,
One of the beautiful things, again, when you become a part of a community, and I think it's really important to point that out. In my business, I certainly can't afford to compete with most of my clients financially, but they see me as an equal. And that's really important, because when you're viewed as an equal, it really enhances the experience, because I have relationships with my clients. It isn't transactional. Yes, they pay me for a service that I offer, but let me give you a perfect example. So this morning, I did a Subaru Crosstrek for a really wonderful older woman in Manchester by the Sea, who's been very kind to me. We met over coffee, in fact, and we just became friends. She happens to have a very nice private car collection that I've had the opportunity to work on for her, and she had me do a Subaru Crosstrek for her groundskeeper. Now, I go and I pick up the car and I bring it back and do my thing. And one of the things that I make a point of doing, Dave, is you'll never see me spend money on a Facebook ad. It's just not my thing. I don't need it, first of all, and second of all, it wouldn't bring me the people that I want to be brought. That being said, I spend money in this way. She hired me to do an interior-exterior detail. When I get the car, there's an enormous scuff across the passenger door. I definitely could have said to her, "Hey, Barbie, it's going to be another $150 for me to correct that for you." Well, guess what? I did it on the house. And that is why when I got there, she's like, "You know what? Let me get a gift certificate for you to do my daughter's Tahoe." So now I went from an appointment on a Subaru Crosstrek, which whatever, it was solid money. Then she throws a tip on top of it, and then she adds another $500 appointment to it. So I made $1,000 today in 4 hours, all because I know that is what makes her remember, like, wow, Rob really does take care of me.
You could have just watched it, did it, brought it back with a big scuff.
She would have been thrilled, I bring that up because, we were talking a little bit, and I apologize that I'm sort of jumping around a little, but I get excited. There are ways that you can stand out that don't cost you anything.
Or cost you very little.
Or cost you very little. Good. That's a better way to put it. Cost you very little. It might have taken me 6 minutes to correct that.
Buzz it up.
And honest to God, all I did was I used a little bit of your Pearl Nano, the all-in-one compound, the pink stuff that I absolutely love. I put a little bit of that on an orange Hex Logic, and that was it, man. A couple of passes, topped it off, with a little bit of my graphene detail spray, and it looked like it was never touched, man. The door was perfect.
Wow, that's great. That's a great thing to go into. The thing that I tell people to do, especially if they're spending big bucks, put on the glass coating. So the glass coating, it's going to last a long time. When they're driving and they're feeling good, maybe it'll rain soon after this nice detail, and they'll call you. What'd you put on my windshield? That I don't even have to use my windshield wipers. I mean, it's raining like crazy out here. I haven't even used my windshield wiper the whole way here and the whole way home last night. It's raining cats and dogs. I don't even turn them on. It just flies right off my windshield. But that's a great that's a great thing to add for free.
Right.
It costs you like $5.
Right.
Even though a lot of these guys charge $200, maybe $50 to $200 to
And
put
that's
it on.
okay.
Just it's a safety factor, and they're like, oh, I didn't even pay for the glass coating, but you put it on for free, and they remember that, just like they
Yeah.
did with the scuff, is what I was saying.
Absolutely. And in the event that the concept or the conversation rather of, gee, my car is really dirty comes up, I am the only solution that is mentioned in that conversation in my circles. Like, nobody ever says, oh, well, why don't you give Rob a call? And then there's this other guy. It's like, call Rob. Hopefully he can fit you in. Tell him that I said, that you should give him a call. And then you get the opportunity to be like, I mean, I did this just the other day, Dave. I got a call from a gentleman. He had what did he have? I think it was a big ass Denali pickup. I can't remember exactly which model it was because I'm on the spot and it's just escaping me. Anyway, he's like, listen, man, I'm getting ready to trade in this car, and I was really hoping, that you can take care of it for me before I take it in. And I'm like, look at, man, I don't have the room right now. I really would love to help you. When do you need it done by? And he's like, well, I was hoping to bring it in this weekend. And I was given your name by, a client of mine. I won't say his name, but I was given your name by so-and-so. And I'm like, well, that's different, man. That's different. Yes, I can take care of you, and I made time when there was no time, because when you're loyal to me, you have earned the right for me to make sure that your friends and family, if you honor me with referring me a friend or family member, I absolutely go out of my way, even more than I go out of my way on a given day, to make sure that they're taken care of. And
What if you didn't? I think that's more of the whole thing. I called Rob and he said he couldn't fit me in. I had to go to Jorge or Bob down the street.
yeah.
So that's making you look bad. Maybe you couldn't fit him in. You have a problem there, but you took care of it.
I never allow a referral to not be handled correctly. I'll work at 3:00 in the morning if that's what it takes.
Very good. Very
Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's how important that is to me. Because that's why in a couple of days, I'm going to pack up my Mercedes and I'm going to drive down south and enjoy the warm weather. Because I didn't have to worry about anything for the whole season.
It's getting cold there, that's for sure, right?
Man, once it dips below 35, I can't work. As long as it hovers around 35, the products perform correctly, the nozzles aren't seizing up, nothing like that's happening, I can work. Once it's going south of 35, it's just not worth it. It's just ineffective to work.
Wow. So that is some amazing work. So how many cars are you doing a year?
I usually do about 250. It can be as much as 3, depending on exactly what's going on, depending on whether or not I hired an assistant. Lately, the past couple seasons, I've honestly just enjoyed working by myself. So,
Okay.
I've kept it around probably between 250 to 275. I think I probably did 275, 280 this year. But it's one of those things where if I wanted to do more, I literally just open up the floodgate. It happened just yesterday. I had inadvertently not blocked out Christmas Eve, and somebody booked 2 cars for me to work on Christmas Eve. And
There or in Florida?
no, still here in Massachusetts. And I literally had to message them and be like, look, man, I thought my CRM system blocked that out for me. It's Christmas, man. I'm obviously not working. But what I'm trying to say is as much as I allowed myself to be available, I would be able to fill those time slots. And it's a great feeling. I don't say that because I'm trying to show off or I'm trying to be arrogant. I worked for that. You know what I
Sure.
mean? And you and I spoke recently, and we were talking about, how strange it is that when you take your foot off the gas a little bit, there's there's a little bit of latency. I think you said it was like 60 days, or you might have said
The 90-day
90
rule.
days, 90
Yeah.
days, excuse me. And now granted, everything was fine. It wasn't like BLAM was fading off into the sunset, but I definitely noticed like a difference in the intensity of the attempts for people to book with me, that normally, I would be like, yeah, hey, listen, I'm 6 weeks out, 7, 8 weeks out. And I very quickly put my foot back on the gas because I didn't like that feeling. And I don't want to play fast and loose with that, because it just makes, part of the reason that I detail cars, and I've said this, and I say this all the time, it. I would do it for free. Like, I literally would do it for free. It just so happens that BLAM became wildly successful. Like, I'd be doing it anyway if BLAM was nothing more than like a side hustle, or like like just something that I did on weekends or whatever. I was going to be okay with that. To me, I just wanted to do it. And it just so happened that, a little bit of hard work and some ingenuity, and here we are.
Wow. I have another question. So
Sure.
when somebody wants to schedule an appointment, what are you using? How did he go from I need to get on your schedule to I'm on your schedule? What schedule are you using?
Okay, so that's a great question, because as a detailer in this day and age, if you don't have good technology helping you, you're gonna find yourself in a lot of tough spots. It becomes very stressful.
You're going to miss appointments, you're going to piss people off, and
Absolutely,
you're going to
absolutely, and
lose
you're
money.
never going to put your phone down, because you're going to be doing everything manually. You're going to be trying to keep track of things manually. And I don't know about you, but I mean, if I don't have some sort of solid technological assistance, it just really takes away from, what I'm here to do, because I'm worried about making sure that all that other stuff is happening. So my website, basically, I use a subscription-based web service, which is called Wix. Is it the best website in the world? It's not, but that's okay, because it's a serviceable website, and I'm not using that to attract anybody to me. I literally use that website because of its scheduling system. It's worth the price of admission. And you literally go on to that website, and there's a, book now, and there's a buy a gift card now, and, all the things that, that you want to have in place. But in particular, the scheduling is fantastic. It's what you would envision. It'll tell you, what my time slots are, what's available. And more importantly, it tells you like, hey, guess what, man? He's got nothing available, but you can get added to a waiting list, which is super important, because
Pretty cool.
one of the things that I always, like to keep an eye on is not so much who I'm working with today or who I'm working with tomorrow, but who's trying to work with me that I don't have time for. And I want to make sure that I reach out to that person, because I want to make sure that I have a rapport with that person, even though I can't say, hey, to them, yeah, man, let me come pick the car up a week from Friday and get you sorted out. But it also gives you the opportunity to, for example, like today, I finished up really early. Now, granted, I was looking forward to you and I having a chat and doing the podcast. But if I wasn't doing this, it's 45 degrees out. I've got 4 or 5 people that would love for me to have called them and be like, guess what, guys? I've got a little time. Why don't you let me come by and grab that BMW and get it sorted out for you? And that's
Wow.
all because that's happening behind the scenes.
And so the Wix website goes into their little calendar. Now, is that
Yes.
going into your Gmail calendar, or are you only
Right to my Apple iCal.
your iCalendar? Okay.
But to your point, it will sync with Gmail as well.
Right.
Syncs, if I'm not mistaken, it syncs with all, I'll call it the major platforms. It just so happens that Apple is the ecosystem that I rely on, so I just have it go right to iCal.
Excellent. And that last little bit about connecting with the people on the waiting list, a lot of people probably wouldn't connect those two dots. They're on the
Nope.
waiting list. They're over there. No, you call them.
Yes,
Business is all about relationships. It's not
absolutely.
about, I have something, you want to buy it, I take the money, I walk away, we never even talk.
Right.
This isn't McDonald's,
100%. That you beat me to the punch. I was going to say that.
So it's all about relationships, and you got to massage the relationship. I worked with people in the past in the office that it would just blurt out or type an email, and it would just be right to the point. Will you buy this? No, no.
Ugh.
Hi, how you doing? How's the day going? And by the way, would you like to buy this? That's how I wanted to craft the email. It's not about grabbing it and grabbing the money. It's all about the relationship. Oh, I
You know,
just came back from skiing and I needed this product to go on the car because the car got all jacked up. So that kind of stuff.
Dave, you know what's interesting? You bring up a really important point, and this is something that a lot of people, when I tell them this, they shake their head at me because it sort of flies in the face of everything that Sales 101 would want you to do. I never, ever, ever ask for business. I simply let people know what I do and let them know that if there's ever anything that I can do to help them, that I would love to hear from them. Period. Not, your car looks dirty. Can I book an appointment? It's just not how it happens. People respond differently when you handle it that way. It's proven literally day after day.
And I do believe the reason, well, there's multiple reasons that you're successful in these high-end neighborhoods is because you do treat them with respect. You treat yourself with respect. You're not out there hungry like a dog on the back of a meat truck, haven't eaten in a week,
Ugh.
looking for every single nugget you could find. Is there some under here? Oh, is there some over there? Asking people you shouldn't be asking for
Right.
business. And you're just like, hey, I'm here. Here's my schedule. You either want me, you don't want me. People like that no pressure kind of thing. And I bring that to you could buy my products, you cannot buy my
Right.
products. You can be on the
Outcome in
podcast. You don't have to be a Pearl Nano guy to be on the podcast. You can be anybody you want. Whatever is best for your business, and that's been my talk for many, many years. Whatever is best with you don't want to use speed code anymore. You want to use something else? No problem. It's okay. So I'm not going to beg you.
One of the things, to sort of like put a line under what we're talking about. One of the things that recently I kind of took a seat. I literally like leaned back after reading it and sort of thought on it, because I have to remember that not everybody has that inner confidence that they will let the line out way past the point that most people would become uncomfortable, And obviously you've done things in your life where, you are gambling on yourself. There's financial repercussions, there's lifestyle repercussions. And I have to remember that not everybody, has that inner confidence. And what I saw recently, there was a post that was a Facebook post I don't think it was in one of the Pearl Nano groups. It was in another detail group that I kind of pop in and out of from time to time. And it was a young kid, and he had a picture of a torn up business card on a windshield. And I'm looking at that, and before I read it, there was no context. I just saw a picture of a windshield with a torn up business card. And the gist of it was, he went to some parking lot with however many business cards and started putting business cards under windshield wipers. Now, let me just tell you this, right? If anybody ever touched my car without my permission, there is zero chance. I don't care who you are or what you were doing or what you were offering. You will never, ever do business with me. It's just not going to happen. It's just a respect thing. You don't touch someone else's car.
I agree.
So anyway, one of the guys whose car he put this on, not only did he like rip up the business card and take a picture of it, like he like literally like was like, what did I do wrong? I'm just trying to get business. And it's just like, it's like you're missing it. Like you're missing it. Like that parking lot that you went in and however many business cards that you spread around, if you went and sat in that, let's say it was a mall, if you went and sat in that food court, with your detail business hat on and, sat there and you were enjoying a cup of coffee and you were talking to somebody and you struck up a conversation with somebody that just happened to be sitting next to you because you saw their keychain had a Mercedes, a BMW, and an Audi tag all on one keychain. So it looks like you must like really cars. That would have been way more beneficial than you really kind of like lowering yourself and showing signs of desperation by like wandering around a parking lot handing out business cards. It just doesn't work, man. At least not not in my experience.
I totally agree. What was Mr. Trump's business? You're fired. What was that show? The Apprentice.
The Apprentice, yeah.
So the very first Apprentice winner, I forget his name, but I got his book way back then. He was telling in the book, he talked about his first business was a boat detailing business in college. And they printed up a whole bunch of flyers. They went and put them on all these boats, and then it rained. What happened to the ink? The ink went into the gel coat.
Man.
They spent the whole summer polishing boats for free.
Oh, and you know what, man? Boat detailing, like I have so much respect for guys that make a living detailing boats because I did for a couple of seasons because a lot of my clients clearly would have boats. So it was a very easy vertical for me to go from like, let me do your wife's Range Rover and then we'll do the Seacraft. It just wasn't worth it to me. The amount of energy and the amount of effort that I put into it. I could do 3 more cars if I wanted. And back then I was doing like 3-5 cars a day, on a lot of days of the week when I was first trying to get my name out there. But yeah, that's painful, man.
Yes. And then to button up on the other thing you were saying about sales. So, I'm a big Grant Cardone guy. It's all about the X, and I don't buy into everything that he sells, and he's a sales trainer. That's what his job is, to help you make as much money as possible any way possible. And if you got to go out there, beg, steal, I told you not to, and he says this in his book, I told you not to call me ever again. I didn't know if you were serious or not. How's it going? Would you like to buy something? I just could never say this to some of these people. And, I thought you were kidding. I'll call you again tomorrow. And then, all right, I'll finally buy. No, nobody ever said that. They're going to be like, I'm blocking you. I'm calling the cops. And, he says, if they're not calling the cops on you, you're not calling enough. I'm like, nah, imagine you trying to do that to these high-end customers. You would be kicked out of the city. They're like, everybody's welcome, but Rob Torres.
Let me just paint a beautiful picture for you. So this summer, one of my clients, wonderful guy, he's got wonderful children, a beautiful wife, just an awesome person. He does a lot for the environment. He's just a solid dude. And he had a really just amazing birthday party, and I was invited to it. Now, mind you, he happens to be one of my first clients, one of my earliest clients when I first started doing business in Manchester. And one of the things that I absolutely loved about his party, amongst the amazing food and the entertainment, and it was a beautiful July evening and all the things that would go along with that, I don't even know how many of my clients were there. There was so many people there whose cars that I take care of that I spent the entire evening introducing my wife to, hey, this is so-and-so. You remember I had that X3 and I was telling you how much I like the color combination? That's his wife's car. And it was just a beautiful thing, man. It was just a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we have to wrap up the show here. And I'm sure, you're going to be off to Florida here pretty soon.
Can't wait, man.
And I really appreciate you being on the show. We covered a lot of things, from media to your awesome year to your private label to how to sell and find your ideal customer to running with ceramic coatings, the big Escalade. Was it the Escalade?
No, the new bourbon that I did the other day.
Suburban.
The 2026
Excellent
bourbon.
job. Excellent job.
And again, longtime client. He's got a collection of cars. I take care of all of them. And he literally called me on, I think it was on a Thursday. And he's like, Rob, listen, I know that you're busy. I'm picking up a new Suburban. I really want you to code it. Is there any way that you can fit it in? And I'm like, I will absolutely make time for you, because this is a guy that makes probably 3 of my mortgage payments for me on a given year, and that's why he knows that he can call me.
And when you posted those pictures of it just dripping with gloss, unbelievable. You did an
and that was
awesome
your
job.
stuff. Obviously, that was XV2 Extreme. I don't have to pretend that I use your stuff. I really do use your stuff. I mean, that
I appreciate that.
That the products that I buy from Pearl Nano, that I can't possibly substitute them. They are so much a part of my workflow. And I appreciate that, man.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being on the show. I'm looking forward to the next podcast episode, maybe next year, and we'll see how 2026 is forming up for you. But until then, we'll see you on the next show, okay?
Absolutely, Dave. Thank you, man. Merry Christmas.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Calling all detailers, gather around the sound, a place to learn the secrets that will lift you off the ground. Tips and tools and stories shared from shop to shop, helping you grow stronger with each neatly polished drop. Calling all detailers podcast, guiding every grind, helping detailers make more money, one show at a time. From the first rinse of the morning to the final shine at night, the wisdom in each episode will help you get it right. Raise your rates with confidence, let your business climb. Tune in and keep leveling, one detail at a time. Calling all detailers podcast, guiding every grind, helping detailers make more money, one show at a time. Calling all detailers podcast, guiding every grind, helping detailers make more money, one show at a time.